Hey everyone, thank you guys so much for joining. We are going to wait a couple of minutes while we wait for our candidates to come in. We're going to have our financial aid director join us in just a little while. She's actually going to be answering all of our main questions. In a minute, we'll be going over the agenda. If you guys have any questions, you can definitely pose those questions in the question and answer portion of this webinar in the Zoom area on your toolbar. All right. It is now 3:30. Miss Amy's going to join us in just a little while, so I appreciate you guys being patient while I go through the agenda.
Today we're going to talk about the team that you're going to meet, our financial aid team, the types of financial aid, applying for financial aid, receiving financial aid, and the resources that are available to you. The team includes Amy. Hey, Amy! She's on the web with us, and she's the Director of Financial Aid and Scholarship. Also, Brandy and Devin. They are her right-hand ladies. They are working hard and sending you all of their little pieces. They're the administrative and the court counselor. So they're going to be the people that talk with you about what classes are you taking, how many hours, and you're missing a piece of paperwork, get that stuff turned in. So when you see their name, you better answer them if you need your money. So Miss Amy's going to talk about all the different types of financial aid that we have.
All right. Hey, guys. So, for our graduate programs and our post-bac programs, what you'll be applying for through the FAFSA will be the federal loan programs. So for federal loans, the most common federal loan program nationally is the Stafford loan. And there are two types of Stafford loans. There's a subsidized Stafford loan and an unsubsidized Stafford loan. For our graduate students, unfortunately, you guys only qualify for the unsubsidized Stafford loan. What the subsidized is where the government pays for the interest while you're in school. Unsubsidized, you would actually start accruing interest on that loan at the time of disbursement. It's always a fixed interest rate, and no payments are necessary while you're in school, and you're deferred up to 6 months post-graduation, but there's no prepayment penalty. So if you do decide, hey, I want to pay a little bit while I'm in school or pay those interest payments, you can do that. Absolutely not necessary. And when you submit your FAFSA, we'll let you know what your eligibility is and those amounts. If you don't have enough eligibility with those subsidized or unsubsidized, depending on your situation, then you can apply for a Graduate Plus loan. The difference is those Stafford loans, you're eligible because you're a student. So there is no additional credit check that's required. You're eligible because you're a student. On the Graduate Plus side, you do have to be a graduate student, but we will run your credit. So the Department of Education will let us know if you qualify based on your credit or not. If you qualify, then that Graduate Plus loan, you can borrow basically as much money as you need for school. You can borrow to cover the cost of tuition and fees, whatever living expenses you have, meal expenses, books, etc. If you still maybe can't get a Graduate Plus loan or want to look at different options that maybe have a lower interest rate, those Graduate Plus loans will be about a 7.5% interest rate, and it will be fixed. If you wanted to look at private loan options, you could absolutely do that to see if maybe there's an option for you to get some type of lower interest rate or a better deal on a loan.
Next, we're going to talk about the steps to apply for financial aid. So how does that work?
Absolutely. So anytime you want financial aid, your first step is going to be the FAFSA. The FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and it can be done online. When you go online, you're going to go and at FAFSA.gov, and that will be the application for the FAFSA. What it's going to ask you is, what schools would you like to send this FAFSA to? You can list those schools on there, and it's going to ask for the school code. LSU school code is going to be 002010. So if you put that code in, that will automatically send the FAFSA to LSU. Where we do see a little hang up sometimes is students will do their FAFSA, they'll put LSU school code, and then they just wait, and then they might forget to check their email or forget to check their portal with LSU, and they have these additional documents that we need that we don't get from the student, and that kind of holds up the process. So be sure when you submit your FAFSA that you're checking your My LSU portal and you're checking your email, and we're gonna let you know what additional documentation we may need. And we call that additional documentation verification. And let me just give you a little background on what is verification. So when you submit a FAFSA, the federal government says that 1/3 of all applicants who submit a FAFSA have to verify that that information on the FAFSA is true and correct. And that we do through a process called verification. So if you look on your portal and we're asking for copies of tax return transcripts or non-filer statements or household statements, any of those words, that's just us verifying that what you put on the FAFSA is true and correct. If you maybe made an error, maybe you were supposed to type in a 5 and you hit a 4, and we'll go ahead and correct those for you. Get that done, get the correction done, send it off to the Department of Education, and then we can get you your awards. So if you want any details on any of those processes, the website that's listed here is a huge resource for you to see what the steps are involved, how to find out that information, and any questions, we'd always be happy to answer those for you.
Perfect. So there's a lot involved, and I think that in between these processes, this is when Brandy or Devin would be reaching out, and even possibly you, if there are missing documents. And then on the registration side, that would be me. I would be reaching out to you guys saying, hey, time to get registered. So as a student, you're going to hear from both of us. So that's just something to bear in mind as we move forward.
Once we get that notification that everything is good to go, we will then email you of the next steps. There could be 2 potential next steps after you accept your student loans. If you're a first-time student loan borrower, so you've never borrowed student loans in the past, entrance counseling will be required, and this is basically an online tutorial letting you know what it means to take out a student loan, what it means for repayment, and how that will work in the future. You will also be required to sign a promissory note, and the easiest way to describe a promissory note is it's just your promise to pay back that loan when you graduate. All of the student loan programs can be deferred until 6 months after graduation. So if you choose that, you don't have to make any payments while you're in school until 6 months after you graduate. You're going to sign that promissory note just saying, I understand this and I promise to pay back that loan. The entrance counseling and the promissory note are both done online on studentloans.gov. And when you do that, they will automatically send that response to LSU. Once you have those things done, you're really set to go. The next thing that you would be looking for is you're going to get a fee bill from LSU. On that fee bill here at LSU, we do require active confirmation of your fee bill, something we call completing registration. And I know that term may seem a little odd. It kind of sounds like registering for your classes, but all it means is that if you have a bill of $5,000 and you have financial aid of $5,000, you're going to think, I don't owe anything. I have enough financial aid to cover that bill. We still require your active confirmation on that fee bill, hitting that complete registration button, saying, I understand my charges, I understand my financial aid, and I'm accepting this fee bill as mine, and I'm making that complete registration be known. So just keep in mind, every module that you attend, you will have a fee bill, and you will have to hit that complete registration button or pay the fee bill if you actually owe something. Once you've done that, you are set. We're going to disperse financial aid on the first day of classes for that module. So any financial aid that you've accepted and completed all of your paperwork, we will go ahead and put an anticipated credit on your fee bill. That way you don't have to come out of pocket if you have enough financial aid to cover that fee bill, but the actual disbursement won't happen until that first day. If you would happen to take out more financial aid than your actual bill, so say you want extra financial aid to pay for books or other expenses that you might have, you would receive that refund back sometime during that first week of classes. We have 2 options to receive that refund. One is you can sign up for direct deposit on your My LSU account, and we will automatically direct deposit that into your bank account. If you don't set up direct deposit, we don't hold any money here at LSU. We're going to go ahead and cut you a check, mail it to the address that we have on file, and then you can cash that check to pay for those other expenses. And then just remember, you can always visit our website to get any additional information that you might need.
Excellent. Thank you for going over all those little details that we always wonder about. That's excellent. All right. So I'm going to skip over and go to our frequently asked questions. So one of the most frequently asked questions is, how do I know if I'm at my loan limits?
Good question. So two pieces. There's two different loan limits. Students have annual loan limits, so loan limits that they can get for a financial aid year, and they also have aggregate loan limits, which are loan limits that they can get for their undergraduate career or graduate career. So those are two different loan limits. One of the best resources that I give to students would be the National Student Loan Database. So if you Google National Student Loan Database, there is a website for you to log in as a student if you've borrowed student loans before, and you can create your own portal. All lending institutions, whether it be the federal government, etc., for those federal programs are required to report your loan status to this agency. So I would recommend that if you are, say you have your undergraduate degree already and you're looking at maybe getting a postbac or getting a graduate degree and you don't know exactly where you stand with those loan limits, create that portal in the National Student Loan Database, and that will give you all of your information. Just for some quick numbers for you, graduate students annually in the unsubsidized Stafford loan can borrow $20,500 annually. And let me kind of explain how this works. When I say annually, that's basically a financial aid year. A financial aid year could represent 12 months. So if you're coming to all 6 modules that LSU Online has to offer, that would be the 6 modules within that year. Financial aid is going to start with that summer module. So the summer module, the next one coming up is going to be May 13th. So May 13th through April 27th, that financial aid year is when you can get $20,500 in an unsubsidized Stafford loan. And then post that, you would be eligible for a Graduate Plus loan, which is that credit-based loan. And that you could borrow up to your cost of attendance. We haven't talked much about cost of attendance. We do go into great detail on our website about what that means, but let me just give you a little bit of background. As a financial aid administrator, we are required to compute a cost of attendance for each student. And basically that means, what is it going to really cost you to live for the year? And that cost of attendance doesn't represent necessarily direct cost that you're going to pay to an institution. It has things such as transportation costs or books and supplies, all these different things, tuition, fees, room, housing, meals, etc. So we determine how much you can borrow for that year, and we will let you know that through your My LSU account. Just for aggregate limits, as an undergraduate student, you have certain limits that are listed on our website, and as a graduate student, undergraduate students can borrow up to $31,000 in subsidized and unsubsidized Stafford loans, and then graduate students can borrow up to $138,500. So they do differ greatly between undergraduate and graduate.
Okay. And as far as the full justifications, actually, I see Justin is mainly concerned with scholarship information. He needs to provide his company with a proposal justification for reimbursement. You mentioned that there's a breakdown for cost. Where would you be able to find that?
Yeah,
so LSU.
So on My LSU, once a student is awarded financial aid, we give them a printable award letter that they have access to in their My LSU account under their award page, and that will break down the cost of attendance for that student, direct cost, indirect cost, and then the resources that they have been given. If a student needs something specifically from our office detailing that, we'd also be happy to provide something ad hoc to the student to provide to their employer.
All right, Justin. So hopefully that answers part of your question. And we'll go to how many hours do I need to qualify before we move on to other questions.
Good. Okay, so we talked about financial aid, and we talked a little bit about modules. So our LSU online programs are offered in 6 7-week modules throughout the year. And when we offer financial aid, we offer financial aid by terms. So the way financial aid works is the summer will be a term, the fall will be a term, and the spring will be a term, but those terms will be split into 2 modules. So we'll have a first summer module and a second summer module, first fall module, second fall module, etc. So in order to qualify for financial aid as a graduate student, you have to be at least half-time to qualify for student loans. So what that means is you only need 3 credit hours, which represents our half-time status for our graduate students to receive financial aid. So that's how we split up modules versus terms. My biggest piece of advice to students is if you tell us I'm attending 3 hours in module 1 and 3 hours in module 2, and you change your mind and you've been awarded financial aid, I would give us a call or shoot us an email so that we can see how that changing of your enrollment in the future could affect the financial aid that you're currently receiving.
Okay, perfect. And then how quickly is financial aid processed?
Yeah, great question. So financial aid is processed in a pretty immediate fashion as long as we have the information we need from a student. So I mentioned before that we receive the FAFSA. If you submit the FAFSA, within 7 business days, we're going to receive that from the federal government. We typically process that within a 48-hour time frame, and we let you know, hey, do we have everything we need? In some instances, we can get you your financial aid package within 48 hours. Other instances where we need information from you, it's going to depend on how quickly you get us that information. If you get us the information, we do our best, even during our peak processing time, to process financial aid documents within 5 to 7 business days.
Perfect. Perfect. And then I have a couple of questions that have come through.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the cost of attendance for online students calculated the same way. I just want to let you know that, Christopher, there are no residency requirements for our programs. On your side, Amy, are there any differences between the program cost versus the location?
No, so LSU Online, you're talking about resident versus non-resident tuition?
I think that's what they're referring to. Christopher, do you want to clarify maybe in the chat box or in the question area?
So just while Christopher's responding, we build the cost of attendance based on what the university determines as that student's tuition and fees. So if that student is whatever the tuition and fees charge, that's what will be built into that cost of attendance.
All right. I'm just going to put that they're built into the program. That way, in case
Right. So the cost of attendance will differ if you're doing a program that's a little bit more expensive, your cost of attendance will be a little bit higher. If you're doing a program that has a lower cost, your cost of attendance will be lower.
Perfect. And Juan, I just want to let you know, we're going to send a video out to everybody who signed up and registered for the class, or for the webinar, sorry. So you can always reference the webinar when you need to. And if you need the links to the actual websites, those are going to be within the email that we're sending you, just so that you guys know. All right. And I think Richard has a great question. He's applying for a program that starts in October, but he is currently completing his undergraduate degree. Normally, he fills out his FAFSA at this time of year. How should he address the school code issue?
Yeah, so you can add a school code at any point in the year. So if you're getting your undergraduate degree at another institution and you currently have a 1920 FAFSA on file, you can just go into that FAFSA and add LSU school code, and they will send that FAFSA to us, and then we can pick up and start your financial aid starting in October. So there's no harm to your current program by adding LSU school code.
So it's based on the start dates?
Yes,
programs?
that's correct. But if he is not completing his current program, maybe he's completing that in July, he may still need the 1920 FAFSA somewhere else, but he can have both schools on that at the same time.
Okay. All right. I'm filling in that just in case you guys, so you can have it in writing. Perfect. All right. Okay, perfect. And I don't see any other current questions, but I did have some other questions that were sent in. Let me look over those and see if I can read them to you. So another student wanted to know if there were any differentiations between certification classes or courses in aid when they're doing, is there still aid for all the certification courses that we offer?
Yes, so we can offer aid for certification programs as well. It just, the amount of aid may be different than a full graduate or undergraduate degree program. We would compute that based on the student's individual situation.
Okay, and then we also have a question about scholarships. We often get a lot of questions about scholarships. This particular person's interested in finding out about the possibility of scholarships available to online students. At this time, I don't know of any scholarships. Amy, do you know of any scholarships that we offer at this time?
No, unfortunately at this time, there are not scholarship opportunities available for online students that I would be aware of.
Okay, sure. So we are, from what I understand from my direct supervisors, we are in negotiations for beginning some online scholarships, but that's a work in progress. So if you want to get started now, financial aid would be your best way and resource to do that. So I think we've addressed every other question except, let's see. No, that's it. Actually, I think I just got one before financial aid estimates. Let's see. I just got one coming in. So, oh, Tyler. So Tyler, I can actually address that because Miss Amy answered that a minute ago. If it's your last term for using aid at a different school, you can put your financial code in to the current FAFSA that you have. Put our school code in as a secondary school to be receiving the FAFSA form.
That 1920 FAFSA is going to be good at LSU starting May 13th through April 27th of next year. So, so May 13th of 2019 through April 27th of 2020, that 1920 FAFSA will work for our LSU online programs.
Yeah, so you are allowed to put 2 school codes in for the year, correct?
Yeah, you can actually put, I think, up to 10 school codes. So there's lots of opportunity to list the schools that you need on the FAFSA.
Perfect, perfect. And then, oh, so I have a person who wants to know if they should complete their entire application before applying for financial aid. That's a great question. A lot of people ask that too.
Yeah, so we don't officially award financial aid until we have an application on file for a student, but we would be more than happy to talk to you about what is available to you before you would submit that application to tell you, okay, as a student, are you coming for the entire year? Here's the amount of loan funding that would be available for you. Here's the amount that you could apply for in credit-based Graduate Plus loans or private loans. So we can't give you an official financial aid offer until you submit that application. So we do encourage you to submit the application, but if you just want to have a chat about what's the estimated cost and what's the estimated financial aid you could receive, our team would be happy to talk you through that.
Excellent. And would that be Devin because she does the financial aid counseling?
Absolutely. Devin would be our first point of contact, and she can walk the student through that process.
And you guys will all be receiving the video of this webinar afterwards. So it should include everything unless something goes wrong technically. We'll cross our fingers on that. So I apologize in advance if anything does go wrong, but I will also be sending a follow-up email with this video so you guys will be able to reference it later. All right. And then I don't think I see any more questions currently. I do have a couple of questions about people who are currently in financial aid or receiving financial aid. So if financial aid doesn't cover everything, I have a student that wants to know if they can set up a payment plan to cover other costs.
Yeah, so if you want to set up a payment plan, that is something that you'd work one-on-one with the bursar's office. So our bursar's office, some institutions it's called a controller's office or a comptroller's office, but our bursar's office would be happy to talk to you about what's available and what kind of situation they can work out to make sure that we're meeting your needs.
Perfect. And there are two different kinds of, or two different financial aid forms. Which one should I fill out? That was another question.
I'm not sure what you mean by two different forms. Maybe if you could clarify.
It says that there are two FAFSA forms available.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yes. So there's 2 years worth of FAFSA forms available. So the 2018-2019 FAFSA is available. That FAFSA is wrapping up really. For LSU here in Baton Rouge, we use the 2019-2020 FAFSA, starting with our summer modules. Some schools are different. Some schools use the old FAFSA for summer. So for you guys, starting that May 13th module, you want to do the 2019-2020 FAFSA.
Perfect. Another question for attending students. What happens when I drop a class?
That is an excellent question. As I mentioned earlier, we encourage any student who wants to drop a class to reach out to our office either by phone or email so we can talk through what that looks like, what that's going to mean for your financial aid. Because when you drop a class, there are so many different factors that come into play. The timing of dropping that class. Sometimes when you drop the class, there will be no it won't impact your financial aid at all. Other times it can make a significant impact, and it really just depends on the timing of that drop. So we encourage any student who is dropping a class or changing their mind about their enrollment to give us a call so we can look specifically at the financial aid you've received, and we can look at the timing within that module or term to give you the best advice possible on how to move forward.
Okay. We also had a question about merit scholarships. Can you be a merit scholarship winner and still go through the online program with financial aid?
So when you say merit scholarship, LSU doesn't offer any current merit scholarships for our graduate or post-bac programs. In the undergraduate world, we'll do another webinar to kind of talk about how this works with undergraduate students as we expand our programs in the future.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. So we are going to be, just so you guys know, if you're interested in the post-bac and you want to know a little bit more about the undergraduate financial aid process, it's very similar. However, some of those limits, as Amy mentioned earlier, are different. So we're going to have a separate webinar for that. If you guys want to join, please email or shoot a quick email back to the person who sent you this webinar link, and we'll get you set up for that. Who do I contact for questions? I know you already mentioned one time before. I've also put a contact us now. We ask that you guys reach out to the enrollment concierges first for any kind of immediate questions about application process and things like that. If it's directly related to financial aid, Amy?
Yeah, if it's directly related to financial aid on this presentation, we have the email addresses for both of our counselors who deal with specifically LSU online. So you can reach out to their email. You can always email financialaid@lsu.edu or call our main phone number, which is 225-578-3103, and they will route you to our online counselors, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Excellent. And I will put that on the next webinar for undergrads because I see that you guys only have emails on this one. So
Yes, please add all of our contact information, and we will be happy to help.
For sure. Okay. Well, I think we've addressed almost every issue except for how many hours per term do I need to qualify. So a term, you already explained what a term and a module are. Let's talk about how many hours I need.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we need half-time status to qualify for financial aid or student loans, to be specific. So in our graduate programs, we define full-time in our graduate programs as 6 credit hours. So you would need 3 credit hours to qualify for a student loan.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about our post-bac, that is a different qualification. So our post-bac is not a graduate program. It is considered, for all intents and purposes, an undergraduate program. You do have to have 6 credit hours within a term to qualify for loans for that post-bac. So if you're coming to both modules within the term, if you take 3 in each, you would qualify. If you were only coming to one of those modules, say you were starting mid-term, you would need 6 credit hours within that term to qualify for financial aid.
Yeah, so if you come in the middle of summer, the middle of spring, or the middle of fall, you're going to have to take 2 classes. And if you come at the beginning of any of those, you would just take 3 hours each term.
That is correct for the post-bac program. For the graduate program, 3 hours gets you eligibility on the front end.
Perfect. All right. Okay. Well, guys, I think we have answered everything that came up on the question and answer on the chat. I'm going to check one more time before I close it down to see if there are any additional unanswered questions. It looks like there's one that was open. Oh, it says it is a class. Okay. All right. Well, we have answered everything. And if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach back out to the enrollment concierge, who will get you in touch with the learner concierges for your programs, who know a little bit more about each one of you guys' programs, or reach out to Amy Merrick and her team, who actually deal with the financial aid aspects directly. We so appreciate you guys' time and hope you have a great day. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Amy.
No problem.